right, what's up, everybody? It is Up on Game. It is the two superheroes themselves with me, the guy that just kind of kicks along with them. You got Pantene Man and Stretch Armstrong. That's right, TJ Hushmanzada, Plaxico Burress. I'm LeVar Arrington. It was a big weekend in football, more specifically the NFL. We got a couple main topics that we're going to touch on today, and we'll get right to it. So, fellas, without further ado, the first topic of discussion on the docket is the 49ers. This team has now let 3 games get away from them. They're fighting health concerns, and one Brock Purdy turns the ball over on interceptions again 3 times. What if you're a 49ers fan, if you're someone who's paying attention to the 49ers, do you hit the panic button at this point? Is Brock Purdy's pumpkin indeed now midnight pumpkin? What say y'all? You want it, Plex? Go ahead, Plex. Go ahead and jump on it. Plex.
Listen, I've been saying all year, and I'm just not ready to drink the Kool-Aid that the 49ers are selling to me. And one reason only, because I said, what is Kyle Shanahan going to do when this man starts to go through a little bit of adversity? We do not know who Brock Purdy is mentally, how he's going to respond week in and week out when he plays one of those games when he throws 2 or 3 interceptions. And now they're stuck with him because everybody pretty much made this young man the franchise quarterback overnight because he went 10-0 last year and saying, "Oh, if he wouldn't have got hurt in the NFC Championship game, they would have won that game." Pause. Hold on. So what are you going to do now? And for the San Francisco 49ers, you can't make me believe that the absence of Trent Williams and Debo Samuels is the reason why this offense is stalling. It's not that. The young man is not playing well. He's making poor decisions. And if anybody messes this thing up for the 49ers, it's going to be Brock Purdy. I think as you begin the season, continue to move on, teams are going to start, playing him different. And he's going to have to adjust on the fly. And I believe that for this team and this offense, his inexperience is going to cost them maybe playoffs because right now the Seattle Seahawks are the number one in the division right now, sitting at 5-2. The San Francisco 49ers are 4-3, and this all-world defense is not rising up to the occasion. And I don't know where Nick Bosa's been at for the last 3 weeks with no sacks, but this defense has to find a way to figure it out because they are pressure defense up front without blitzing and they struggle in the secondary. And I think teams are starting to pick that up. If they're not getting to the quarterback, they don't have the secondary to go out there and basically shut any of these teams down offensively. So they got some problems on the horizon. I think this week they go to Seattle or to get Seattle at home, and then they got to go to Philadelphia. And it's not going to be an easy road down the stretch and they may lose 3 or 4 more games in the next week looking at their schedule. So Kyle Shanahan has a problem. He's going to have to wait to get it fixed quickly because you know what's worse than losing 3 games in a row? Losing 4.
Losing 4.
There's a lot to unpack in this because number one, I felt like if the Bengals went into the bye 3-3, they would come out really ready to go. I mean, that game could have been worse than what it was. If you go back, McPherson missed a field goal. Irv Smith fumbled just before halftime, and the Bengals were on the 5-yard line going in. To me, the kicker was when Purdy threw that interception when he was scrambling to his right and tried to lob it to the running back. The linebacker picked it. But is Purdy playing bad? Yeah, he's playing bad. I still believe Brock Purdy is a good quarterback because you don't do what he's done uh, from last year and then early on to this year and not be a good player. Any team that's missing their best players are going to struggle. I don't care who it is. When you're missing Debo and Trent Williams, you're going to struggle. But the biggest point in this is They missed D'Amico Ryans. Steve Wilkes may be a fantastic
Mm,
defensive coordinator. He's not D'Amico Ryans. They missed D'Amico Ryans. That
yeah.
defense would never give up the amount of yards and plays that it gives up now if D'Amico Ryans was their defensive coordinator. And so, where's Nick Bosa? The secondary can't cover. Nah, it's where's D'Amico Ryans? Oh, he's the Houston Texans head coach. They miss him. So Kyle Shanahan and that coaching staff, they got to figure out defensively what's the problem because that's what's holding them back. Offensively, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna turn the ball over. Purdy, like I say, that interception to the linebacker, that was a great play when he tipped it to himself. Now, when he threw it later in the game, right in the middle of the field, that's just a bad read, Plex. He just kind of hoped that the guy was gonna be open and the linebacker was right there. But when you're missing Trent Williams, Debo Samuel, how many teams are going to win games when arguably two of your top three offensive players aren't playing?
Hey, and I will say these two things also. What I've been realizing or seeing about in the San Francisco offense, like it's a timing route offense. And you look at Brock Purdy, and he is throwing some of these balls before they come out of the break. And if they're not on the same page, you can't pull that ball back in. It's already in the air, and the wide receiver's not even out of his break yet. So they have to be in tune and really on the same page that they want to play this style of offense because he is letting this ball go. You know what? My guy's going to be at 15 right now. It's not always going to be that way, and he has to make an adjustment to be able to. I played with Ben, and some of these quarterbacks that have big arms. I mean, throwing the football, 20 yards outside and all these things, they can still be late and still fire the ball in there. He doesn't have that kind of arm, so he has to rely on everybody being on the same page in his passing game, and it's going to be some mistakes in this showing. And I said this, last week. I said this game is more about the Cincinnati Bengals than the 49ers because everybody's saying, oh, it's the worst time for the Cincinnati Bengals to play the 49ers. No, it's not. It's the best time. It's the best time because
Oh, here. Now the
yeah,
truth
yeah,
comes
it's the
out.
best
Here
time
we go.
because
Here we go.
hey, I
TJ
say,
thumping.
hey,
TJ
I say
thumping.
if Joe Burrow's healthy, man, watch out for these Bengals because they can win them for 5 or 6 games in a row. And because now everybody's back on notice, Cincinnati, Joe Burrow's healthy, and now everybody's like, look, now you're talking about them being one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the AFC, and it's a great win for them because listen, it was a must-win game for the 49ers. They needed to win this game.
It
And they
was a
went in
must
there and put
win,
31
and they
points
still
on them.
beat them.
So 2 weeks in a row, this
Still beat
defense
them.
is giving up 30 points. So like you said, TJ, they got to figure it out quick.
I'll say this. Um, Joe Burrow's cleat game was super clean on Sunday. It was super flawless. If his reputation is Joe Cool, it got Joe Cooler after them cleats that he wore. They were kind of fire. I'm gonna look for those online.
What you gonna do with?
Um, but here's the interesting thing. I'm gonna get the tennis shoe, the
Oh, okay.
sneaker version of it,
I'll
and
get
and,
ready.
and
Ready.
wear it as a sneaker. Yeah, I'm not putting no cleats on, not even for play. Uh, but so you talk about San Fran's upcoming schedule because that was a must win. When you're as good as San Fran is, and you start building the type of accolades and expectations of what San Francisco has earned, the way they played early on. I mean, you could say at one point this was the hottest team in the National Football League, and after the injuries and they got manhandled the way that they did in that Cleveland game, it just seemed like they haven't been the same since that physicality. They have the Jaguars next. That's who they have next, and they go to Jacksonville to play them on the road. That's a tough game. That's going to be a tough game for them to win. You just
MVP,
saw Jacksonville go
Trevor
on the road.
Lawrence, generational quarterback.
That TJ said from day one that's who it's going to be. They just They just had them boys on terrible napkin time in Pittsburgh, which I found to be very offensive. But nonetheless, they won the game, so they got to throw up terrible napkins instead of terrible towels. That I thought that was interesting. Then they have the Bucks. Now I don't know if that's a trap game, but it could be indeed a trap game for this team. The Bucks aren't a great team, but they're a team that they're probably capable of winning a game like this. And then you go from there, and then they have the Seahawks, which the Seahawks are playing well. They're only a two-loss team right now, and they have a receiving core that is comparable in a lot of ways to the one that's in Cincinnati. I mean, you got Lockett. I'm not going to say they're as good, but I'm saying three receivers together. You got Lockett. You got
DK, Jackson
you
Smith,
got
and Jigba.
come on, you got Njigma and you
DK,
got what's my
DK.
man? What's big DK Metcalf, right? So to me, Gino playing the way that he's playing, I don't know that they're going to cool off.
And
They might.
are you
This might be who Seattle is
Seattle is
this
leading the
year.
division because the 49ers are 5-3. Seattle's 5-2. They have one less loss. But Gino has thrown 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. And so people, they're not really talking about that because they're winning games. But he can't be doing that if the Seahawks are going to try to win that division. He's going to have to turn it around because he didn't turn the ball over a ton last year. He turned it over a lot this year.
They got to play the Seahawks, then the Eagles. They turn back around, and then they got to play the Eagles. And I believe they got to play them in Philly. This is a hard road for the Niners.
Right. So knowing Kyle Shanahan, he was coming into the season basically saying, you know what, I have the best team in the NFC West and probably the conference. And his mindset was probably going into this year, you know what? I'm focusing on winning home field advantage because we get to the NFC Championship game, we do not want to go to Philadelphia. And he overlooked the whole entire division of the NFC West and saying that, you know what, we are going to win this division. We're getting to the NFC Championship game. We want home field advantage. And probably, took Seattle lightly. Not even, recognizing that, listen, Seattle's a good football team. And they were already leaps and bounds, and everybody had already put them in the Super Bowl and a rematch again in the NFC Championship game with Philadelphia. So right now, Kyle Shanahan, you know what? He needs to go back winning the division first because there's no guarantee that you're going to get into the playoffs as a wild card. And they're saying, man, listen, we are already 2 games behind Philadelphia.
Let me
So
let me
right,
ask you a question. Are the 49ers the team that we saw beat Dallas, or are they the team that we've seen the last 3 weeks?
They got to be the team that we've seen the last 3 weeks, right? Because it's a 3 game skid. It's a
But
three
when
game
you the,
skid.
the
Like we can
when did
people can blame it
no
on
when
the
three,
concussion. They
when
can
did the
blame it
three
on the
game
health
skid start though? Trent Williams.
with the
No, no, no. The
concussion.
concussion
With
came
the
up this week.
concussion, Trent
Trent
Williams and
Williams has an
Debo.
ankle. Debo has a shoulder, and so it coincides with yeah. That all coincided with this 3 game slide. And so every team in the National Football League, when you miss your best players, it's hard to win.
I don't give a damn who ain't out there. I don't give a damn who out there. Listen, they are pressing right now. They are shook. Every game moving forward, they're like, it's becoming must win situations week in and week out for the 49ers. And that's the pressure that they're gonna have to deal with moving forward because listen, there ain't no guarantee that they going to the playoffs, man. Their schedule moving forward it's not easy.
That's
And
why I asked
and
the question,
Seattle,
are they
they're not
definitely the
guaranteed wins that they're gonna go in there and beat Seattle.
that's why
So
I asked that question. Is there will they are they gonna make the playoffs? Are we certain of that?
Oh wow. Oh wow. I thought panic button. I ain't know go as far as they ain't gonna
When
make
you
the
when you rattle off your
playoffs. I'm
part,
not gonna go. I'm not gonna
when you
go that
rattle
far. I'm
off
not gonna
that
write them
schedule, when
off
you
that
rattle
far.
off that schedule, that's not easy. You play Seattle twice, you
And
play
that it's
Eagles.
it's
That's
definitely
not
not
easy.
easy.
That's not an easy schedule. And so are they in jeopardy of not making the playoffs?
I mean, they got the Ravens down this stretch. I mean, that's it could get ugly. It could get ugly. I
I'm
don't.
looking at
I'm not going to go as far as to write
Hey,
them all the way
Ravens,
off.
Eagles, Jags, the Seahawks twice. That's five. How many they gonna win?
10-6. I mean 10-7, 11-6. I mean that's what we're looking at for them because they're gonna lose 2 or 3 more games.
They're going to be a. I think they'll be a wild card at worst. If at best they'll
I'm
pull it
telling you,
together and they'll
they are
end up
gonna
winning the
lose 2 or 3
West.
more games. So where that put them at already? That's 10-7.
Yeah. Yeah. 10-7 should be good enough. I don't know what Seattle's going to do. And the West is largely in part top heavy, right? Nobody else is good. We'll get into talking about the Rams and how they took a foot up their ass. Just real quick pause. But that's I mean the NFC West is really a two-horse race, and right now the Niners are allowing um, the Seattle
You know what?
Seahawks
When I
to
think
to
about
get
it,
out there, but they're not too
they'll
far
make the
out there
playoffs
though.
because when you look at the other divisions in the NFC, uh, they're not good enough to get the wild card. The 49ers will 100% make the play just off of default because the other divisions, the teams in those divisions, it's top heavy. The Cowboys, the Eagles. So the Cowboys or the Eagles will be one wild.
Minnesota was supposed to be it, but now Minnesota's not even going to be it because now
So the
Kirk Cousins
Cowboys,
is out.
Eagles will get one
So,
wild card, and the 49ers will get the other.
all right, let's go. Let's transition into the names you just said, the Cowboys. Are they for real? They came out and they put foot to ass from the opening whistle. They took it to the Los Angeles Rams. I was shocked. I give credit where credit's due. I'm a big Dallas critic, but I got to be honest. I was impressed with the way they played on both offensively and defensively, and I thought this was the most complete game I've seen them play all season long in terms of the way they dominated and dictated to the team the way that they did. We'll start with you,
Hey, well,
TJ.
they did more than put foot up there. They gave them hands and feet. They got it all. The Rams, they kind of fooled us early on because they came out early on and they were very competitive. The Rams aren't a good football team. And the Cowboys did exactly what a good team does when you play a football team that's not a good team. You smoke them. It wasn't competitive from start to finish. The Cowboys have a good team. But what happens is, or what happened was, when the 49ers did what they did, everybody took a step back and said, oh, the Cowboys ain't that good. The Cowboys have a good team. They just laid an egg against the Niners, or the Niners just played a great game. If the Cowboys can play this, man, Dak Prescott was making some throws, bro. I was like, whoa. Dak Prescott played in hell of a game. All the criticism that people try to give, Dak Prescott came out and played a game. And so if he can play that way, then you got to look out for the Cowboys. You got to, because that defense is going to be what it is, a great defense that's going to limit an offense. I don't care who they play. If Dak Prescott can play that way, the Cowboys will be a problem.
I mean, this. I mean, look, Dak is not a bad quarterback. You know, he's just obviously playing in Dallas. The quarterback position is the most reported on and most scrutinized position in all of sports. That's just what it is. Dak even came out and acknowledged that. Listen, they're going to get criticized in the media, whether they're doing good or bad. It's never going to be good enough until they win a world championship. What I seen yesterday from him, man, making some of them throws over the middle, seam throws to the tight end in the end zone. It was the best performance for him throwing the football that I've seen. I mean, he was throwing some darts yesterday, and they was accurate. They was on the money. He was throwing the football where only his wide receiver could get to it. I haven't seen him play like that. Maybe he's just, he was mad going into this game because they had a bye week and they've been just sitting there listening to everybody talk about him for the last 2 weeks. So if he can continue to come out and just play, he doesn't have to play that well every weekend, but we would like to see it. But the way that offense ran yesterday, that was the Dallas team that I thought that we were going to see at the beginning of the season. But you got to realize, man, they really hadn't beaten any good football teams until yesterday. And it was a damn good team. Who did they beat? They beat the Patriots. They beat the Giants. They beat the Jets. They ran into a buzzsaw with the 49ers. And who did the Denver Broncos? I mean, I'm sorry, the Carolina Panthers. I mean, they haven't really beaten any good football teams. So they have to continue to play well on offense, and they have to get CeeDee Lamb the football. They have to find a way to be able to get him involved in the game. They did yesterday. I think he had 150 some yards, 9 catches. Those are the numbers that CeeDee Lamb is going to have if they want to see this offense to continue to grow.
I gotta ask you guys, this upcoming game is against the Eagles. They get the Eagles, and this is one of those, like, you know, this is one of them step up game, prove it games. I look at where Dallas is right now. They gotta win this one. They gotta win this one to legitimize where they're at, and to legitimize how they're being viewed one way or the other. If you're a hater and they win this game, you gotta step off of being a hater. I mean, you still can hate, but it's not warranted. If they lose this game, I think we all know where that goes. Like, they still have yet to beat a real team, and that's something historically. Even when we was doing Speak for Yourself, TJ, that's something historically that always rears its ugly head at Dallas. They'll beat the teams they're supposed to beat. You'll get a feeling that this is going to be that team, and
The
then they
50
play a good
50
team and they can't
games
beat a
is
good
what you're
team.
saying. We thought the Niners game was 50-50 and it was an ass kicking. So what you're saying is these 50-50 games is never 50-50. And they need to make this more of a. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles just played the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders have a quarterback by the name of Sam Howell. Y'all just Google and see how many yards for Sam Howell threw for. Just Google how many yards is Sam Howell throw.
Oh, he diced them. He diced them, I believe.
And so if you're the Cowboys and Dak Prescott on offense, if you're not watching this film smiling and you can't go out there and do what they did or better, that's a problem. That's a problem because the Eagles secondary, it can be had. Bro, Sam Howell threw for over 400 yards, man. Sam Howell and they threw for over 400 yards. If they had any defense, they win the game.
Yeah, I just think for Dallas Cowboys, man, this game is right here that they played yesterday is going to be short lived because I just right now the Philadelphia Eagles are the most complete football team in the league right now. They can run it, they can throw it, and I just believe Philadelphia also understands the significance of putting the Dallas Cowboys back in that place.
Hey, Plexico. But now I agree with some of what you're saying. How is it now? Because Jalen Hurts being that X factor with his leg, his knee is bothering him. If he can't get out and be what he is, does that change your opinion?
No, it don't change my opinion at all because they got a man. He has a man behind him in DeAndre Swift who can carve up any defense running the football, and he doesn't have to run the football to beat Jalen Hurts. I mean, the man can flat out throw the football, and I think that's one of the most underrated things that people don't even realize is how well this man throws the football. He doesn't get enough credit for it. He can be a stand-in pocket quarterback if he needs to be, and he's still going to be uh, you know, as good as him getting in and out of the pocket, that just adds a whole nother dynamic to this offense when he's running the football. You have to be, cognizant of that. But as far as him throwing the football, man, this man is just as good as anybody else. I think, well, what is his record now? How many games has he lost as a starter in this league? What is he? 20, 24, 25, and 2, or whatever the case may be. Man, the man is playing lights out football, and the fact that nobody is even talking about this man being the MVP of this league is a travesty. Because look at this record. Look at his regular season record, man. I think the man has lost. How many games has he lost? And nobody's talking about him being, one of the best quarterbacks in this league, and he's probably one of the top one or two
I,
quarterback playing the game
everybody,
right now.
Jalen Hurts is a consensus. Whatever you like, top three quarterback between Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. However you do it, I think everybody would say he's top three.
I'll say this going into this week, looking at what's at stake in the West and on the NFC side, because I think we would all agree that these are the two best teams in the NFC right now. I mean, you can put Seattle in the conversation, but I don't know. I don't know that the Niners are still in that conversation as of today because of a 3-game slide. You can't say a great team is a team that would lose 3 games straight. I think we
Eagles,
could all agree
Cowboys,
on
Lions.
that.
Those are the top three teams right now.
Okay. Okay. Now we'll find out about the Lions tonight and their Monday night their tilt, but for what it's worth, the Eagles have been being the Eagles, and Dallas has shown that they can be Dallas. My focus is the lines of scrimmage. All right. Philadelphia's offensive line is a bunch of dudes. And the reason why they can run the ball and the reason why they can beat you in so many different ways is because it starts up front. Their offensive line is controlling the line of scrimmage against their opponents. So they're able to run the ball when they need to run the ball. That makes it easier in the passing game because you got to respect the run. So play actions have a whole lot more meaning. It's not just play faking and getting the coverage. You really got to play the run against this Eagles team. That's one. And then two, the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line is thugging and bugging too. And I'll tell you, quietly kept, the boy Hassan Reddick is freaking balling. He's coming off of that edge and he's giving quarterbacks hell. He's stopping the run, he's setting the edge, he's doing some really special stuff at that edge position outside. And it's really because you got to use 2 and 3 dudes to block the guys inside. Jalen Carter he's running away with rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. You got so many good guys on that defensive front, and your linebacking core is good. I just think this is one of those games. If you really are in the conversation of being considered a Super Bowl caliber team, you got to win this game. You got to win this game because I don't think anybody's going to question if the Eagles are for real. But for some strange reason, I think people still are comfortable asking that question about the Dallas Cowboys. And I think they need to have this as a win in order to have that strong argument point to say we are a legitimate contender in the NFC.
Oh, the
It's
Philadelphia
kind of
Eagles,
how I
man, they
see
the
it.
real deal. I mean, they kind of, hey, everything like you just said, man, it kind of reminds me of that, our '07 team, offensive line, defensive line, being able to run the football. You got a dominant receiver on the edge, AJ Brown and D Smith.
He's playing the best. He's playing arguably the best receiver in the game
I
right now.
mean,
The way he's
yeah,
playing,
what are you gonna
who's
do
better?
defensively? Hassan Reddick, man, he coming off the edges like you said. I believe when he got drafted, I think he ran like a 4.39 or something at the draft coming out. So you have a stand up rush and coming off the edge, running below 4.4. Man, that's scary. And the big uglies that they got up front is what I call them, man. That offensive line that we've had when I was here in New York is kind of comparable to the same attitude and mentality that the Eagles have up front. Man, they don't care. They grimy. They play well together. They seem like they're all in unison in the running game and defensive. You got to think about this. Samson, the Eagles lost Javon Hargrave to the 49ers, and that's still one of the top defensive lines in all of football. So they're gonna be tough to beat. I think the Eagles put the stamp on it this weekend by beating Dallas, and then when San Francisco comes to town, they beat the 49ers, and you're gonna see after those two wins. everybody's going to be talking about how good the Philadelphia Eagles are going into January.
I don't disagree with that. Let me transition into this. You compared this team to your Giants team. The Giants almost won this game against the Jets, the Battle of New York, and they had -9 yards passing. Now, I can't recall ever seeing that on a stat line, a negative in the column of passing, but now I can say that I've seen it happen. Where do the Giants go from here? Like what happens after a
I
showing
was at
like
the
that?
game yesterday. Let me tell you something, man.
That was your
All right.
expression the
It
whole game.
it was one of the saddest football games that I've ever. I took my son to the game. I told him, I apologized to him. I said, man, I'm sorry. I thought there were going to be some teaching points that I could, teach them, defensive coverage or alignments and different things like that. But it was so poor of a passing game. There was none that I could point out to my son, and there was no teaching moment during this whole 4 quarters because it was an absolute disgrace of how these guys were throwing the football, and the lack of execution was just piss poor. I mean, this right here, this been has defied physics for me for the last almost 24 hours now. I'm still trying to grasp how do you, as a quarterback, you're facing the defense. The line of scrimmage is right in front of you. And how do you throw the ball backwards for -9 yards? I think that has to be one of the most intriguing stats in all of sports. It's probably the first time that has ever happened. I just can't believe it. And then you have a quarterback on your team. This guy, Tommy DeVito. I get it. They were probably so busy trying to get Tyrod Taylor prepared for this game that man probably got no snaps in practice last week. You didn't even think about that. Didn't even cross your mind. So now you got to put him in the game. And you wouldn't even allow this man to throw the football except to the running Saquon or the backs coming out of the backfield. You didn't want to get a man a contract, Saquon Barkley. But then when you need him, you hand the ball off to him and you ride him like Seabiscuit for 2 whole quarters, and the man is getting beat down, pummeled. They gave the man the ball like 20 straight times, man. And then for the game, both teams go a total of 0 for 18 on third down. Nobody got a first down on third down. How is that
The
possible?
the Jets converted their first third down conversion. I believe it was like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Man, this is professional football. There's no way both these teams should be putting a product out there like that on the field when these kids are making millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. And y'all can't get a first down? The quarterback -9 yards passing. He don't know the playbook. How do you have a quarterback on your roster that don't know the plays?
Hey man, these teams better get back to having more than two quarterbacks active, getting rep. Because when you're in a practice squad quarterback, you really just running a scout team. You get
Right.
zero reps. Yeah, you know
Well,
the offense. You're
if
not
that's
never
the
you.
case, take the step of putting Daniel Jones on IR so you can have another quarterback on the roster until he comes back 4 weeks later. Because it's already been what? Just going into the 4th week. So now what you got to do? You got to play him. Even if you hurt, you got to play him. So that's not a good situation either. You're not gonna throw the book at Tommy DeVito and say, you know what, Daniel Jones not feeling 100% this week, so digest his whole offense and be ready to play on Sunday. That ain't gonna happen either. So if Daniel Jones is not ready, if he's not healthy, he has to play this weekend. There's no way that this young man is gonna digest a whole offense and be ready to go on Sunday.
He has no choice but to play. The Giants are a team that made the playoffs last year. This season obviously did not go the way they would have hoped. They're just not a good football team. They can't throw the ball. Many people said when they gave Daniel Jones that contract, what are they doing? I'm sure they regret it now. You can't go back and change it, so they got to make the best of a bad situation.
Double-digit losses is what we are looking. Hey man, we are brinking. We are on the cusp of having the first damn pick in the draft.
It might be a good thing.
The Carolina Panthers, they won again yesterday. They 1-7. We are a 2-6 football team. We haven't played the Eagles yet. We have the second worst record in all of ball, and there's a great possibility. I'm telling you right now, we're gonna have a top 3 draft pick. I wouldn't be surprised if we have the number 1, the number 2, or number 3 pick, and you sit here saying to yourself, "Man, we may be in a we may have a chance to draft Caleb Williams. What do we do?" But we ain't know they gonna do that because the first black quarterback just won his first game for the New York Giants in 100 years of football, so that ain't gonna happen either. Man, it's a sad day. It really is. I just really can't believe what I saw yesterday. And me and Eli are sitting there standing beside each other. We looking at each other like, dog, this would never happen. Something like this in a New York Giant uniform to put a team out there that looked that damn bad offensively. They should all just be ashamed of themselves. They should really be ashamed of themselves. And we're gonna have a top 3 draft pick. And I don't. If we got the second pick in the draft, what we gonna do with it? What we gonna do? I'll tell you what they're gonna do. They'll take Marvin Harrison Jr. and they still ain't got a quarterback throwing the damn ball. Don't make no damn sense. My New York Giants are terrible. And I don't think I'm going to another game this year. I'd rather sit on the couch.
Okay, speaking of someone else who didn't have the greatest of days out there on the field was Russell. Well, was it Russell Wilson? It was Patrick Mahomes. We would have thought it would have been Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson had a good day and he was cooking. They let Russ cook. It looked pretty good. They were putting up some points. They end up winning the game 24-9 against the mighty Kansas City Chiefs. It was Patrick Mahomes that struggled during the course of that game, throwing 2 interceptions. Also, Travis Kelce had a really, really interesting day. Was it the Taylor Swift effect? This was one of the first games she wasn't in attendance. Did she have an impact on the energy level of the Kansas City Chiefs, and more specifically, one Travis Kelce? What say y'all?
No, and you said Russ was cooking. He must have been cooking some breakfast because he only had 120 yards passing, I believe 119 or something like that. The,
Hey, that's
the
cooking for
Denver
Russ.
defense played well. Patrick Mahomes receivers, they just not getting the job done. That they're skilled players outside of Kelsey. They're just not being productive. They're not doing their job, so to speak. Uh, the Chiefs played a bad game. But if you go back, Denver this season, they played them well defensively. And so now people are going to look at this and say, what is Denver doing to really slow them down? Because they can't really do much against that Denver defense. Just had a bad game offensively, the Chiefs. But this has been more of the norm for the Chiefs this season when Travis Kelsey doesn't go off.
Right. So yeah, it was brought to my attention, man. I was listening to Ocho and Shannon Sharp. Man, he brought to my attention that Kelsey attended the World Series game Friday night in Arlington, Texas, like 2 days before a football game. And I'm saying to myself as a player, I don't think I've ever done anything like that. Jumped on a private jet, went, attended a World Series game or whatever the case may be on a Friday, the day before you got to travel to go to Denver for a football game. And I just think that all of that,
You
yeah,
saying they doing too much?
yeah, the
He doing
celebrity
too
part
much?
of it, and everything that's going on with him. That's not really. I don't think that's really just being focused on the game, man. I mean, I just think that they feeling themselves so much that they can do things like that and say, you know what, man, we Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, man, we can do whatever we want to. We can go out here and play well on Sundays. It don't matter what it is. And we playing the Denver Broncos, so I'm gonna probably carve them up for $1.60, $1.70. So man, you know what? I'm gonna go jump on the plane, man, go down here and watch the World Series game, and I'll be fine just for Sunday. That ain't how it works.
Well, he just did a commercial where he got the flu shot and the Pfizer shot at the same time. He's showing you that he can do two things at one time. Is what
Hey
he's trying
man,
to.
listen, during the season, man, just yeah, listen, I
Hey
can
man, he
understand
wants
like
y'all to know that he can
listen,
multitask.
I've went home on an off day, a Monday or whatever the case may be, but not on a Friday to go during the season and play a football game. I mean, that's a little much, man. So get back to the nuts and bolts of it, man. Stay focused. All of those things gonna be available for you when the season over. But man, listen, y'all trying to get to another world championship, and that ain't the direction you need to be, going. And if you want to do that,
Number one, I'm not doing that. Friday night, I'm chilling, especially if we got to travel the next day. The Chiefs, they'll be all right. They'll be fine. They're not going to the Super Bowl this year. They don't have the firepower on offense. They just don't have what they've always had. And be because of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, they're basically covering up what the Chiefs lack on offense. They don't have consistent playmakers. The receivers aren't getting open, and when they are getting open, they're dropping the ball. The Chiefs will always be a competitive and a really good team as long as Mahomes is the quarterback. But the Super Bowl this year, no chance.
I'm gonna call it out. I'm gonna
Hmm.
say it. I'm gonna go on the record. Cincinnati alert. I'm calling
I
it
knew he was
out.
gonna say that.
Cincinnati alert.
We going. If TJ's team goes to the
Oh,
Super Bowl, we going. We
he
going to
gonna act
Super
a
Bowl
fool.
anyway. We doing
Hey, if
Super
they
Bowl
just keep
anyway. But if
they keep getting
Cincinnati go,
better.
TJ better get us on the
Mm-hmm.
field.
Cincinnati alert.
Y'all might
Better
as
get
well.
us on the field.
The way the Bengals look, the way they playing, that defense, that offense, they're one of the few teams that they never. The Bengals don't get lumped in of one of. They're good on both sides of the ball. Like they play complementary. Defense ain't playing well. Offense got them. Offense ain't playing well. Defense got them. But when they both playing well, you get what you get. What we got yesterday.
Man, and did you see Joe Mixon run over
Mhm.
Greenlaw yesterday? Tighten your
Oh,
tighten your chin strap
I
up, young
thought he was
man.
knocked out. Did you see him on the ground doing that after he hit him? He was
Was feeling himself because he went back home. Joe Mixon had all his folks in the
yeah.
I mean,
stands.
dog. Hey,
Went back home.
that's Greenlaw. I mean, he ran him over like he wasn't even standing there. And then he was on the ground talking about some,
Yeah, I seen it.
oh man, what was it, a truck?
He is a big boy though now. Joe Mixon,
Mm,
boy.
he is a big dude.
Man.
He is a big dude. And this is a big show, and we ran these topics over. So listen, if you missed anything, that's okay. You can check us out on the podcast. It's Up On Game, and you can check us out on Up On Game Presents as well, wherever it is that you get your podcast from. Make sure you check it out, tell a friend, and you can tune in and check us out on Saturdays as well. We do crack the microphones on the radio from 9 to 11 West Pacific time, and that's noon to 2 o'clock on Eastern Standard. So make sure you check out Up On Game. It's TJ Hushmanzada, it's Plaxico Burress. I'm LeVar Arrington. We'll check you out.